Hello and welcome back to the Macca's Talk Hockey Podcast, the podcast where me and my brother Charlie say hello.
Hello.
We talk about English ice hockey, specifically the National Ice Hockey League, the league we love and enjoy. And today is a Hull Seahawks special. And I interviewed Matty Davies. Unfortunately, Charlie couldn't be there, but he said that he would do an interview during the season as well, where both of us can be in there. So, yeah, it was a really good interview. Got an insight to what players he signed and why he signed them. And just how this season's going to be a lot different to what it was last season. Charlie, how are you tonight? I know you've had a really busy week at work.
I'm not too bad. I'm quite tired. It's my second week at work. So it's a bit difficult to get in some of the pods at the moment, just adapting
Yeah.
to a new job, but we'll get there. Have you got a drink today?
Yep, we have got the Pepsi Max Raspberry this time. So we've gone back to the Pepsi Max. But yeah, we'll definitely sort out a schedule where we actually arrange when we're going to do the podcast and stuff so we can get them out swiftly. But we've still got so much specials to do or release because we've done some interviews. But yeah, let's get straight into it then, Charlie. Let's go back to last season. And it was a bit of a hectic season for the Seahawks, wasn't it? Let's just say that, especially with the import situation.
I think their roster, it wasn't quite really fully together. I think they had the good players and then players maybe who were more National League One players.
Yeah.
And it was just really trying to just get their feet under the door, get
Yeah.
through a season at the end. At the end, it did get to the point where it was just get through the season and we know we're going to be better next year, sort of thing.
Exactly that. It took them ages to get their imports in, Emil Svek and Andre Thamar, and two actually decent little imports. And I think they would have done so much better if they actually had some better players around them and had a full squad around them every season. If you look at the stats from last season, Svek still scored 31 goals, which actually 31 and 31, if he's playing 56 next season, Charlie, how many goals can he score?
I do think with Svek, and I will say it from watching him as well, I do think he thrives sometimes when maybe the team isn't performing quite as well at times. I do think he likes that sort of role, that responsibility. So I actually think with the better players around him at times, I think it will get spread out a little bit more as well. So I think he does actually benefit at times from being on a team maybe which isn't quite as good.
Yeah, well, just to put in perspective, this is how much the Seahawks struggled for players last season, or in a way, this is how many players. They ended up having 31 different players in their squad who had to come and play a few games here and there. And we've got to bring it up. The ban, the 10-match ban Svet got straight after he signed. We've all seen the video of the hit against Telford. Do you think that deserved 10 matches? Because I certainly don't.
I don't think it was 10. I can see why they've given a ban, but
yeah.
It was just them trying to figure out the rules. You can see they're trying to stricten up to protect some players, I guess, a bit more. But yeah, it's just all a bit, yeah. But that's hockey, isn't it?
It's one of them. Like, I know they're trying to protect the players, but in my opinion, he led with his shoulder, which is a legal check. But I can see why it got given. But it was no way 10 games, and then from there on, loads of players got the 10-game bans. And it just became a joke. So hopefully they can get it sorted next season. The Seahawks fans, I wanted to touch on them because despite it being a very difficult season, it was nice to have Hull fans back in the league, wasn't it, Charlie?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. I enjoy the whole away games. It's always a nice little bit of tension there, nice little bit of rivalry, but always respectful. And I'll be honest, this season it's going to be a whole lot different going there because I think their fan base will just keep growing because they're going to be winning more. They're going to be getting behind the team. And I remember what it was like with the old Hull team, and it's going to be an intimidating place to go to.
Well, they've started to bring the band back together. We'll mention a few of the players, which I'm sure everyone knows have come back to Hull. And Matty Davies, let's talk about him because I did the interview with him and really nice guy. He's now full-time head coach. How important is that he can fully focus on that head coach role now?
I think it is important. I like Matty Davies. He's really good for hockey. It's not just the head coach role, though. He is running a lot of what goes on.
Yeah, exactly.
He's got a lot of things on his plate, but that's a big opportunity and a big question mark this season is how good is Matty Davies as a coach? And that's not me dissing him or anything, but this is his first full season as a coach, and so it's going to be a big change for Matty Davies. He's going to have some down moments, he's going to have some up moments, but altogether, it's a great opportunity for him as well to develop his off-ice hockey career.
Yeah, well, he's had a fantastic career. He's won that. We won the playoffs of Hull, and he's brought some of the players back who were part of that playoff winning team. He's got a ridiculous amount of points, and it'll be interesting to see if he can. What I'm interested to see is some players which end up going into management. Do they have small advantages because they've played the game compared to players who haven't? Sorry, managers who haven't played the game. Do you think that can come into practice?
Well, I think it just depends on his style. I think he brings his own little style and things he loved doing in his career, I'm sure will show on the ice. Like, he's a very nitty-gritty player, got stuck in with everything, and you saw that with Hull last year. They love to attack, and I think Davies will bring his own play style onto the team.
Yeah, exactly. One player I want to bring up, Declan Barmer. He got 34 points last season as a defenseman, and me and Charlie have debates all the time who we think the best defensemen are in the league, the best forwards are in the league. But for me, Declan Barmer is top 5 in the league, and he's been given that two-way role with, is it Manchester?
Yeah, him and Bobby Chamberlain.
Yeah, him and Bobby Chamberlain have got that two-way role. I know that they're not going to play so many games with Manchester, but still, it's an opportunity for Declan. And yeah, just how important is he going to be next season for that whole team, Charlie?
Well, Declan Balmer's one of the best defensemen in this league, and I can't believe people can't even see that. For me, it's just, a team's had a bad season. Oh, surely that defenseman can't be great. The guy's playing 40 minutes a game. It's like, of course he's not going to be playing at his best level. He's playing 40 minutes of ice hockey. Like, Declan Balmer, when he was at Swindon, was unbelievable. And you just notice the quality, the composure, the calmness. That guy is one of the top 5 defensemen in this league. He's a huge asset for any team. He's so calm on the puck, and he can suck up minutes. Not quite 40. You don't want him playing 40.
Yeah.
He can happily play him 30, 25 minutes a night, and he does an amazing job for all of them. And he's in my opinion, Hull's most important player.
Yeah, and Matty Davies talked about him and how he was so lucky. So you'll hear from that in a minute. But yeah, he'll stand up for anyone as well. He is someone you want on your team because he'll stand up. He had a few fights at Swindon just to protect the players, which I absolutely love. And yeah, people forget he's still his mid-20s? Like, he's still young. He's in his prime. So the fact he's at this level in his prime, Hull have got a very, very good player on their hands, and I'm gutted that we don't have him, because we did see the drop-off last season when he wasn't in that Swindon team, didn't we?
Yeah, he was just that. The fact he could play 25 minutes at a really high standard a night, when you lose that, there's always going to be a gap there. It's just, he was really, really good. And he also adds that physicality, like we said. And Declan Balmer, yeah, one of the best players in this league.
Exactly that. They have signed a few new players. They've gone with 2 Canadians, but we'll talk about that after we've had the interview, because I do bring it up with Matty Davies, and he does go into quite detail on why he signed these specific players, his plans for the future. So should we get into the interview, Charlie, and then we'll see which players they've signed up for next season and our lines we'd play in, one to watch, etc. So should we get into the interview?
Yeah, let's go.
Hello, welcome back. We are joined by a very special guest, Matty Davies, the head coach of the Hull Seahawks. Thank you very much for joining us, Matty.
Thanks for having me, mate. Appreciate it.
Charlie can't be here today, but he sent over a couple questions which I can ask. How's your summer been so far? Has it been busy?
It's been busy, mate. Yeah. I mean, it's busy in a few ways. You know, not just the ice hockey, but you know, I've got 2 young kids, and I've got another business to run, and it's a busy life at the minute. But yeah, I mean, it's all for sort of, you know, just pushing towards I suppose an end goal in a way. And I mean, I knew the team was going to be sort of a lot of work. Probably didn't realise how much it was going to be. But yeah, I think my wife won't be too happy if she knew how much work it was originally. But yeah, it's been good. This summer's obviously been a different sort of situation to last year. You know, we had sort of, the club was already done this summer, and we didn't have the headache of just trying to build a club. It was, you know, just trying to grow on what we did last year. And for me, sort of primarily, it was build a team that was gonna sort of compete and be do a lot better than we did last year, which, it'll sort of help with everything else in terms of the business and sort of how we are off the ice. It's, a lot of it comes from, how well you do on the ice.
Yeah, exactly that. I wanted to go back to last season. You touched on it there. You had a lot of problems at the start, obviously trying to get the imports in, and there was a lot of support from a lot of fans around the league. Just how difficult was it at the start of last season, not even being able to have a full team, really, going away to the likes of Swindon and stuff? How hard was that?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was difficult. We look, we knew sort of when we took it on, that it was probably going to be tight. Originally the plan was to, I planned on really coming in on this season now. But after sort of speaking to Steve Nell about, just sort of where the league was and sort of, it was one of them things where we had to get in and make it and just make it work. And look, it's like anything. I think any business when you're starting out is difficult. I mean, ice hockey in this country, as you know, mate, it's difficult no matter how long you've been doing it. I was lucky enough. We had a ready-made club, I guess. In terms of fan base. We've had good teams in the past here. It's not like I'm completely starting from scratch. But in terms of sort of the business side of it and everything off the ice, there was literally nothing. So, just building that to a point of, even getting on the ice was really a challenge. And to 100%. Be fair, yeah, just getting through the year for me last year was the goal, really. Going back to sort of what you said there about, the imports and all that. I mean, I could sit here and tell you all day about how many, times and emails and different things that we'd sent off to sort of MPs and Home Office. And I mean, it was sort of becoming a bit of a joke, really. And then it sort of became, I was getting quite angry with it just because we had no real way of knowing what was going on. And then, sort of, I might have to ask my wife to get involved in it and sort of push it. And she's a little bit of she'll just keep going and keep going. Whereas I suppose me and Joe, the other owner, are very like, we'll sort it at some point, not as pushy. And it needed pushing and she pushed it. And, we finally got them through, which was, it was too late, to be honest. If you're looking at the grand scheme of things, we didn't get our team. No. The problem with them not coming in is a lot of the other players played short, and then with that comes injuries. So it wasn't just the fact that they weren't playing; it was the knock-on effect of the full team.
Nothing else.
Yeah, and that's it, mate. And we just uphill battle really from up until Christmas. Really, I mean, I didn't really see us as a real the team that I wanted on the ice till Christmas time, really. And then. By then it's a tough league, as you know, mate. And, there's a lot of good teams. The parity in the league is very good now. So it was tough.
I wanted to touch on yourself as well, because you actually went into a player coach role. So you were going to play as well as being a coach. How hard was that? Because you were coming back from an injury. You talked about how you were players down as well. You felt like you had to step up. And then how hard was it managing both of them?
Yeah, it's look, I take my hat off to anyone that is a genuine player coach. Like, we've got a few of them. Aaron and Huey this year come in and
Dom as well.
Yeah, there's been plenty. And look, I think like it's one of them things where I guess it takes away from something. I'd be lying here if I said that you can truly pinpoint, your full potential in that coaching role when you're playing. I don't think you can do that. I know for me personally, anyway, when I do play, I get so invested in the game and what I need to do on the ice, and I think, the other side would have suffered. I think last season, looking at it now, I've sort of stepped away from it and analysing it. It needed me on the bench last year. That was really evident to see. We with the players we had and sort of the where the club was, it really did need someone to really sort of, just manage it and run it and sort of get everything sort of in place. And I genuinely think without that, I think we could have been even worse, really, because the lads needed a little bit of help in that sort of first period where we were so short. It was so difficult for them. And then it came a point where we just had that many injuries and there was just no players, and I just couldn't stand there and watch it anymore. And at the end of the day, the plan really was I was supposed to play, and then honestly, like I knew in the back of my head, and I'd told family that I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. Obviously, I've had a long-standing problem with my knee, and it's just been the thing of like, coming after COVID, not being on the ice so long, it just it had gone at that point. And unfortunately that's just the way it goes. But in terms of last season, it's my club, so I did want to play some games. I wanted to put the shirt on. I think that was the right thing to do. And just sort of just pay respect to the lads that I was sort of letting down, because I did feel like that a lot of it was sort of my, I felt bad on the fact that I just couldn't be out there and helping them, because originally that was the plan. And it's just tough to sort of watch the lads that are battling so hard. And, at times we just, we were so up against it, like, and I come back and played, and, I was terrible, to be honest. I mean, I was just nowhere near the player, that I have been. And it's hard for me to sort of be that. I struggle with just, being out there and not sort of being, the player that I was or whatever, and really, giving an impact on the ice. And I think my time, I think a lot of people in our sports probably say this, and I think when when it's done. And I 100% knew it was done, completely done in my head. I just knew it was over, and it was time to sort of step away from it and concentrate on, the coaching side, but also the business side and everything else that comes with that. And I knew that it was a case of I needed to build this club and sign the best team possible. And that was definitely with me out of the frame. And, this year coming, it's obviously just trying to sign the best team that I could.
Yeah, well, you've got the main head coach role now. You don't have to worry about being that player coach. Has that been easier this summer? Just getting the players in you want to get and building the squad. And you've actually got quite a big squad this season. So injuries and not having players to come in and cover, that shouldn't be a worry this season.
Yeah, exactly, mate. It was, again, go back to it, but last year was really, frustrating for a lot of it, just down to pure numbers. It was just sort of, you're looking at the lads and just thinking, this is just not right. They don't deserve that. And sort of, we couldn't really do anything about it. But, this summer there was no doubt in my mind that they were never going to have that problem again. I won't put a team on the ice that can, ever fall short in that way in terms of numbers. I'm always going to have numbers now, because, it's not, I believe this wholeheartedly. I think Telford have had the right model for a long time in terms of, they might not be the best team on paper, but they've always had a really deep squad, 4 lines.
100%.
And they play the same way all year. And you see at the end of the year that they've got legs still. And I think a lot of teams will go down that route. And look, the teams that are top heavy, that's just the way. If you've got a Kieran Brown, if you've got the imports that are top in this league, you're going to play them more. That's just the way it is. I'll do the same, but you've got to really rely on that bench. You've got to play them lads, because
it gives those top guys a rest as well, doesn't it?
Exactly, mate. Yeah, it gives them a rest. It gives them players that are getting a chance to play, they feel a part of it. They want to be a part of it. They want to work hard for you. That you're giving them that sort of trust, and everything's better. The whole thing works better. So this summer was a case of was getting the team that I wanted, and the players that I knew, I had a chance of getting back here. I had to go after them and get them back, and then it was the numbers thing and sort of making sure I had enough people in place to play
Yeah.
them roles.
Well, two players you have brought back, former Hull players at the Pirates. You've brought back Bobby Chamberlain and Lee Bonner. How easy was it to persuade them to come back?
Yeah, I mean, it was easy, really. I think, it was a case of, I think both of them, if I'm being totally honest, and I didn't really have this conversation so much with Lee because I knew he was sort of settled in Sheffield because he'd already agreed it. But
Yeah.
I think they would have both signed back here last year if the timing was different.
Better,
And that's just it's just purely down to where they live, mate. Like, you there's no like I'd rather play here or there. At the end of the day, if you live in the city, why would you drive an hour and a half to go and play? And it just, it doesn't make they both, everyone's got jobs. It's difficult, mate. Traveling is really hard. I did it in I did it in Leeds for that year, and even though it's 50 minutes, an hour away, very hard, mate. It's very difficult.
Well,
it does.
You look at Glenn Billen, he's come to the Wildcats for that exact reason, really.
Exactly, mate.
He lives in Swindon. What are Bobby and Bonner going to bring to your team this season, which maybe you didn't have last season?
Yeah, I think, well, both of them bring a lot. I think, the biggest thing for us last year, I felt was we had some good players, no doubt about that, but we didn't have enough good players. And that obviously sounds fairly simple. Like everyone would want more better players. That's just how everyone would work. But I think in specifics with these two, and how I've built the team, what these two bring is that offensive ability that they can win games on their own. They can win games at any point. They're both proven. It's that we really did lack. We didn't lack in work rate one bit, and we will never lack in that because it's part of my sort of DNA. I would never have a team that doesn't do that. But it's sort of, you've got this league, you've got to have quality, and you've got to have quality in them top two lines that can really make, the difference. And again, I've mentioned it, but the Leeds winning the league last year, the way they did it, they had the best top six in the league by a long, long way, and that's what's won them the league, I think. And
they've set the bar up,
exactly,
now, haven't they, for the teams
massively
to follow.
Yeah.
You've signed. You've obviously re-signed Svek. We love Svek. We loved him at Swindon. He's a goal scorer. But you've also signed two Canadians. You've signed a D-man in Brock Bartholomew, if I've said that right.
Yeah, that's the
one. Bobby Young as well. Yeah. I wanted to touch on Bobby Young especially because he's played in a very top American league, or Canadian league. What is the process as a coach? Because me and Charlie are so interested to know, do you go through hundreds and hundreds of imports in those Canadian leagues? And how did you end up with Bobby Young?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because, I think even maybe before sort of I was doing this role, you don't quite know how people do come across people's plate. But honestly, like it's a case of just sort of being sort of a good person, speaking to people and actually just asking them what they think of certain players. Do they know if someone's looking to come? It's all sort of just networking, really, mate. I think, Bobby in specifics, I mean, that kid came across my plate really early on.
Really?
And his agent that I went through, I've spoke to him for a while now, probably, a good year and a half, and good guy, and sort of as a lot of good players. One of his players was Gomicic in Gomicic in Raiders last year, and I'll be honest, he was a player that I really liked.
Good two-way player.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted this year. I wanted an out and out top, first line centre that can do exactly sort of what he did. He might not have been top point scorer, but he was up there. But I guarantee he was up there in a lot of the different, face-offs and everything. You
could see at playoffs in the playoff
he was
finals
the best player.
Just how good he was, and he was class. Brock Bartholomew as well. What was the reasoning behind going for that defenseman import? Because a few teams have done it in the league so far.
Yeah, look, I think when sort of I knew it was going to be the three, and I did know fairly early on. A lot of the owners did because we had to sort of vote on it, talk on it.
Yeah.
Um, I'd already sort of planning, what team I was going to sort of have, and I knew sort of some of the players that were going to come back or signing back from the team from last year as well, and just sort of the makeup of what I've got now. I knew that I wanted a D-man because genuinely, I think we do lack British D-men in this country in
I'm
general. I
so
think,
glad you've said that, because
yeah,
we've said, me and my brother have said for so long that the difference between attacking forwards and
yeah,
quality defensemen, don't, no disrespect to the defensemen, I think there's a big gap. So I'm glad you've said that,
yeah,
actually.
it's massive, mate. Yeah, I think what you find with the D-men, I think the top D-men, the top British D-men are really, really good, and they're just as valuable or just as good as them top British forwards. But
Yeah.
I think the fall off is quite high, whereas the forwards you've got a lot of really good players. And I just don't think there's the bulk of the D men that you really would want. And we see it all around the league. Everyone wants their one or two guys back, and they're there. Everyone's got that. And I think I think I've got that with Barmer, and you know him.
We love Deck,
Played.
yeah.
Yeah, everyone loves Deck, and look, I'm lucky to have Deck. I am really lucky because he's sort of that. He's your club. You build a club around someone like Deck
Yeah.
because he's just your out and out top D man that can log a lot of minutes. He does everything well.
Yeah.
And with that in mind, sort of what are the other D men that I was going for? I've got Liam Danskin that's coming in as well from
Yeah.
Glasgow. I'm really excited for Liam because I think he's got a lot of potential,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
think it's a huge year for him as well to sort of really prove how good he is, and again just a really solid, capable D man. And again, same with Tom Barry from Leeds. He's very solid and very, in that sense, very defensive minded, which is what I wanted.
Yeah.
And with that in mind, obviously, I knew that I really did want that out and out offensive D man to really sort of run the game, I guess, and sort of we don't usually get that in this country because it was always a thing. Two imports, you're going to go with two forwards. I think
Yeah.
everyone had the same idea, but with the 2-1, I think you get just that little bit of quality. And it'll be interesting to see this year for all teams that have gone down that route, just the difference in sort of the power plays, the difference in
Yeah.
sort of what we're going to get from, just more offensively minded D-men that really do want to contribute. I mean, if you watch the NHL now, honestly, I think the D-men are actually the best players on the ice.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you look at Fox, you look at Macca, you look at these players. They're
Bouchard
on
as
the.
well now as well for
There you
Edmonton.
go. Yeah, and these players, they're actually on the puck more than the forwards there because a lot of them are getting the puck in deep and they're skating because they're so good at skating. They're skating with it, and I think doing a lot of research on Brock, and I spoke to a lot of people about him individually because this was one I really wanted to get right. And I spoke to, two really people that I really trust a lot. And, the sort of feedback on Brock was this kid's sort of going to be a real diamond.
Yeah.
He's just sort of, I guess he's sort of slipped through the cracks, I believe. And I think that's going to massively work in our favour.
Big D man
And
as well. 6'3".
big guy, can really, really skate and move. And I think he's going to, I actually believe he's going to be, I mean, this is a big statement, but I think he's probably too good for this level.
Yeah.
And I think I want him to look upwards as well. I want that from him because I want him to dominate. And I think if I'm right about how good he is and what people have told me, then, it's going to be interesting and fun to watch.
100%.
All these D-men that are coming into the league because there's some really good D-men that are coming in this year and it's exciting.
Yeah. I wanted to touch back on you as a coach because you've been a player and you've been a really good player as well. You've put up some ridiculous numbers every single season. What is the stuff you can take as a player into management? What's the stuff you can take as a player into management, which some managers might not have. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I think, look, I think for me, in general, I've always been someone that is very sort of, I look at the finer detail of everything within sort of the thing that I'm interested in, which is either, the sport of ice hockey or the sport of something, the fitness side of it, which is the business that I run. And in terms of like the inner details of that, it's like I really go into detail on watching certain things like games or documentaries and picking up certain things that I really, think them things really matter. In terms of, just generally how my brain works, I really think about the little details about things really intensely, because them little things over the years, they pick up and you learn different things. And this is also taken from every coach that I've had, and the details that they go through, just the tiny little things that they all do. And I've had some top coaches, and that, again, I think everyone would say this, you just learn and pick things from everybody. But fundamentally you have to put your own spin on things. And I guess my sort of philosophy, like I said before, it's very much sort of hard working based, and that's got to be sort of the minimum side of it. And it was one thing that sort of me going into this, and a lot of players that are sort of know me and going to play for me or playing against me as well, I suppose it's one of them things that they're going into this knowing that they've got to be, hardworking and fit, and that's the minimum. And then from there, then we can really implement stuff that I think really will help in terms of the team playing well. And just going on sort of up from last season, and sort of what I was trying to do with the team was just sort of make us solid, make us not just an easy night. And I was quite proud of how all the lads really picked up on the way I wanted to play, and really pinpointed on sort of the game plan philosophy, how we really went about things. And we talk about this stuff with other, Aaron. I speak to Aaron about this, sort of just the fundamentals of how we see the game. And sort of, and he's very similar in that way to me. He watches things, he's very detail orientated and wants to make sure people are doing them little details right. And I think, look, you've got to just take what you think is the right things, and you have to live and die by that in a sense, but not be afraid also to sort of go, that didn't work, and change. If you just stick to what you're doing, and you're not willing to sort of go, right, they're doing that, we need to change, or this is not working. And you have to be quick on the mark with that as well, and make sure people know exactly what they're doing. And with that, I think really communication is one of the biggest things. It's how you could be the best mind in the world and sort of know everything about the game, the ins and outs of it, and how you want a forecheck structured, and how you want this and that. But if you can't communicate that and get that across to the lads, then it's pointless knowing it, right? So I think for me, it's always been something that I've always sort of done anyway. Like I've always been a coach of some sort, like gym or whatever. So I've always been communicating with people. So I guess that's probably where a lot of this comes from, and what sort of just me as a person I've always been like. So yeah, I think trying to be a good manager is key as well. And we've seen that, over the years with really good coaches, but football coaches as well. You hear a lot of the footballers talk about that, and the best ones they've had is always them people that, man, I know you've got the United stuff up, but he was literally, he was the most, he was the most successful for a reason. Might not have been the best mind, but he was the best with the lads, and they had respect for him, but also knew that they could talk to him, and it was, the right blend. And that's what, again, I'm trying to do.
100%. Looking towards next season, it is different. You've brought in some real quality into the team. You're going to have the imports from the first weekend as well. Fingers crossed.
Definitely.
What is your expectations? I'm hearing loads of stuff about Hull. I've got high expectations for you guys. What is your expectations as a coach this season? Have you set some targets for the team?
No, and I don't think I will, because I think, look, I think when you get into the targets game and really sort of look at a target end goal, I think it's a real difficult thing to put on the players. And I think it's just unachievable just because of the length of where it is. I think you've got to just look at every night, or at least every month, if you're going to go that far ahead, and really look at exactly what you've got coming. This league is no joke now. There'd be no use in me standing up here saying we're going to do this and that, without even seeing people play yet, because everyone's changed and everyone's got. I think most teams have actually improved a lot. You know, the ones I think have really improved a lot are the ones that I think people would not necessarily, you know, see as them title favourites in terms of, you know, we hear it now, don't we? Leeds, MK. I actually don't think that them teams have improved as much as other teams.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, you look at Raiders, the quality they've signed up front.
Well, yeah, I mean, you boys, I think I'd say
I don't want to put any pressure on us.
No, I 100%, mate. I think you boys have done. I think you've changed. Aaron, I know this because I speak to Aaron a lot. I'm good friends with him, but he's tried to change what that place has been for quite a while. It'll be interesting to see what happens there, but they look really good. So look, it's no good me standing here saying, you know, what I think we're gonna do. All I do know is, like, you know, without talking sort of to Hensley, like we will be a playoff team. I know that. You know, there's no doubt that I've got.
It's got to be a minimum.
The confidence in the fact that we are good enough to make the playoffs. And if we didn't, then, God, I mean, I'd probably be without a job. I'd have to sack myself, I think. But no, again, it's not easy to do that. But I just know with what I've got, the team that I've got together and the lads there, that, you know, we will be in the playoffs. And I think from there, you've just got to, you know, just see how you fall. We've just got to go there and this year and just sort of prove ourselves. You know, it's not anyone can say anything. You know, these look good, that they look good. It's all irrelevant, really. You know, until you get out there and you really play against them teams. Everyone's saying Leeds haven't got better, but we don't know how good they're going to be until we see them play. You know.
Something we always say in my family: anyone can beat anyone, and that's why we love the sport. Because last season, Bees beat us with 12 men, and anyone can beat anyone. I think that's why everyone loves this sport. Looking again at the team, how important is it to have players who've actually played together before? You've got the likes of Bonner, Chamberlain, you've got Salem as well, Toner. They all played together in that whole team, which you were a part of as well. How important is it to have those players who play together, but also bring those new players in as well?
Yeah, I think it's key, mate. And, you know, for sort of my look on this season was sort of get the core back together from last season, but sort of add the old core as well, in terms of obviously bringing Bobby and Bonner back. You know, them lads have known each other since they were juniors. They've all played together, and Finley Ulrich as well. Sorry,
yes, big to have him on a full time as well.
Yeah, huge, mate. Yeah, and obviously again, Hull lad, they all know each other. It's going to be a really intense room at times. You know, a lot of them boys are really competitive. And it'll be a bit of a sort of not an eye-opening situation because they've all seen it before, but this season's going to be very different, and it's going to be different every night on training as well. And I'm big on that. It's you know, you play, you literally, practice is where you get paid. You are playing hard on practice because that's what really will make the difference. And that is the things I'm interested in, is really seeing how the boys come together, and sort of just that overall goal of trying to, you know, be the best team we can.
Yeah. Have you managed to I forgot to ask you at the start, have you managed to get back on the ice with the team? Have you managed to have a training session together?
Yeah, so we've had ice pretty much all summer, just once a week.
Oh, nice.
And
That's huge, that.
Yeah. And then this week we start to, so we go on twice this week, and then that's us all the way through now till we start. And then we've got a pretty busy packed pre-season. We've got the first week we're on the ice every day, and then sort of going on from there, it's sort of just we'll go into a normal sort of three practice week. Look, I think the thing with this league now is it's improving so much. And again, I bring up Leeds again, but Leeds really did sort of stamp their authority on the league last year simply by being the most professional team. They practiced the most. They was on the ice the most. A lot of them lads are very similar in how they are, and they all want to be on the ice.
Oh, friendship off the ice as well. They all
Massive,
just
mate.
looked best mates.
Yeah, that's it. But it really makes a difference when you're getting into a real difficult game, or you're in a tough stretch in the season. Them things matter a lot. And yeah, I think these sort of next couple of weeks it'll be good to get everyone back in and just sort of get them moving. There's a real good group of people that live in Hull as well, around it as well. So yeah, we've got some good summer sessions that have been going on, and the leading into sort of the main bulk of it now is looking good.
Well prepped. Nah, that's really good to hear, because a few teams I know have struggled to get on the ice with stuff getting done and rinks getting built. So I bet you're really glad that this season, especially because of last season, you've managed to get prepared together as a coach. So that's really good to hear. Just a final little quick word for the fans, the whole I was going to call them Pirates then, the whole Seahawk fans who stuck with you last season. They were really good last season, despite some tough results because you didn't have much of a team. Just a word on them, and have you got a message for them going into this season as well?
Yeah, just again, I can't thank them enough really for sort of the support that we've had from day one. And it's really it's picking up now. I mean, it's like the snowball effect has really got into gear now. One of the big things we really wanted to crack on with is the brand of the club.
Yeah.
In terms of the brand of the merchandise, we wanted people to wear the stuff. And honestly, it's crazy how many people are wearing the stuff already. And, we're a year into this. So they're the things that, we can't thank people enough for really buying into it. And as well, this season, I mean, we've had record number of sort of season ticket sales. We've had numbers that I've never seen. And it's really, 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 positive, and everything around the club at the minute is sort of going really well. But again, this is all they all wanted to win. They all want to win, these fans. It's like every fans that I've ever played at. I know what it's like in Swindon. I know what it's like in Telford. All these places is these older clubs that have been around for a long time, they do expect winning. And again, I know we had a fair share last year that was very sort of,
100%.
we had to get through. But them fans they'll only give you that time for, the first year. And after this, they're expecting us to win and do well at home, especially. They really are quite fickle fans. And I think a lot of fans that have been around a long time are like that. They just want to see their team win and do well. And I can 100% sort of respect that. And yeah, I mean, I'm just so thankful for sort of how they've been with us. So
me and Charlie are really impressed with how you touched on it earlier about getting best friends as a team. You've got this podcast running as well, and we really like what you're doing at Hull, and I think you are going to have a successful season. So we wish you luck. Thank you again for hopping on. I've really enjoyed that. We've gone right to the end as well, so I appreciate that, and we'll see you back in Swindon.
Yeah, thanks, pal. Appreciate it.
Welcome back. Thank you very much, Matty, for hopping on and having a nice little chat. Some really interesting stuff, and some good insight onto why he signed these imports. And we're going to go over it in a second, Charlie, but this team is setting up to be a very, very good team this season.
Mm-hmm. I've got some interesting points I think people will be interested in as well.
Yeah, well, let's start with the goalkeeper, because me and you were very impressed. Despite a very difficult season for Hull, we both think that they've got a very good goalkeeper on their hands. So go through the goalkeeping core next season, Charlie.
Well, they've got the two backups on I believe on two ways, Dominic Smith and Tim Lyons. Then the starter, Jordan McLaughlin. And I thought I'd just give a little story on him. I spoke to Rennie Marr, a fellow Scotsman. Rennie Marr highly rates him as well. And he's a really good goalie. He sucked up too many shots last year, too many. He was getting too opened apart. And great goalie, really good shot stopper, and great asset to have for Hull. And I really do think he's he's a top goalie.
Yeah, he had a lot of pressure on himself last season with the amount of shots he did have to save. And I'm surprised he didn't actually get injured because he was playing every single game. I think they had Warburton as well, but he played the majority of the games. And with a better defence in front of him this season, we're going to see Jordan McLaughlin as, I think, one of the top goalkeepers in the league. Let's get on to that defence, which is going to be in front of him. We spoke about Barmer before the interview. We don't really need to talk about him because he is so important. He's that core of the defence, isn't he?
Yeah, Barmer, of course. But I'll read out the other five. We'll
Yep.
start off with the returnees of Thomas Stubley and Chris Wilcox. Then you've got two new British players, well, one Scottish, one English. The Scottish lad, Liam Danskins, coming from the Solway Sharks / Glasgow Clan.
Very exciting.
Barry, coming from the double-winning Leeds Knight. And finally, a Canadian import, Brock Bartholomew.
Bartholomew. I actually smashed it in the pronunciation in the interview, so thank you very much. But yeah, let's go on to Brock because he is the main man. He is the main person they've got in. And do you think that they needed that import defenseman in the team?
I do. And I really like the look of this Brock fella. He's only 22. He's got looks like he's got a lot of talent, a lot of ability. He reminds me almost, I know it's an odd comparison, but the Zach Brooks-esque signing at D.
No, I agree. He's
a younger Canadian import who's just got fresh energy and a point to prove. And I think he'll be a decent asset to them. And I think he'll be a great player to on that D.
Well, Matty Davies. Yeah. Matty Davies has put a lot of pressure on him. He said that he thinks he's actually too good for this level. So we'll see how good he actually is coming the end of the season, whether he could even sniff up to the Elite League. We've seen it with Cooper before. So we'll see. I think it's a very, very good decision going with a defenseman because they've got that point scoring defenseman and it takes the pressure off Declan Barmer as well, who was, as you said earlier, was sucking up all of the minutes. Thomas Barry, you know what you're getting with him.
I really like the Thomas Barry
Stubley. Yeah. He's been around the block recently, isn't he?
I do, but I think he found his place at Leeds in the sense of ice time and minutes, and he sucked up minutes for a team which won stuff.
Yeah,
and that's unvaluable in this league. The guy's won stuff. He's clearly good. So I think that's a great sign. I really think he fits into their top four D core nicely. And then Liam Danskins, little underrated one there.
Big chance for him.
But not just a big chance. I think he'll take it. He scored great points in the league below. They've nicked him off a team which has come up to this league, and he's had some Elite League experience at least as well. So I think that's a little underrated one there for me.
Yeah. It's going to be, we'll get into our line soon, but I definitely know who I'm going to be playing. Let's get into the forwards then, because they have got a big forward core. I spoke with Matty and he said that the most important thing this season is that he's got the team. He's got the players now. And if they do get injuries, they've got players who can come in and support that. So they're going to have a full team. The imports will be here on time, which is very nice to hear. Should we get on to the players we already know? So Emil Svek has signed back and Nathan Salem and Sam Toner as well. You know what you're getting with them three. They were the main three last season, weren't they, Charlie?
Yeah, they're good signing. Salem, really chirpy, nippy player, gets under your skin. I like that a lot. Adds that kind of Hull element to him. I think Hull are just going for that. And it's good. Towner, he's their captain, just to mention that. Playoff winner. I think he's almost the perfect third line center. Really good two-way game. I know you like him, maybe love him so much, but no, I think he's a great player to have maybe some younger players on the wing next to him as well. So yeah, I really like that signing.
Just to name another few before we get into the new boys, they've re-signed Owen Brutton, who was a youngster who got a lot of minutes last season, didn't he, Charlie? A lot of people actually rate him really highly, including myself. I think he's going to be. I think this season he's going to get less minutes, but he's already had that season now in the league. Yeah. So, he's going to be playing with more better players as well. So,
and I think another key point. Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, sorry.
I think another key point to that is he puts pressure on the players who are in their 26, 27, 28 age. If you're not playing well, I'm going to take your ice time. And I think that's important for a squad to have a hungry youngster who's basically going to make these good players either play well or lose their spot.
Yeah, exactly that. They've also got another couple young lads, Declan Jones and Alex Kent as well. They're both on two ways with... Is it the whole Jets? The whole Jets.
NHL 1 now, so they've got the league below two-way with their teams.
Yeah, that's always good as well. Charlie, do you want to get into the new boys? Because this is the make or break of their season. I think this is what's going to be this is the big upgrade, isn't it?
Okay, we're going to start with the whole Pirates-esque. Lee Bonner and Bobby Chamberlain. Tell me what you think.
Wow, perfect. Yeah, I think everyone knew they would come back to Hull at some point. Matt even said that if it wasn't for last season and how it started, he thinks they would have come back last season, but they are back now. Bobby Chamberlain, we know he can get a ridiculous amount of points. And Lee Bonner, he played his best hockey, in my opinion, at Hull when he was there last time. So, yeah, two massive signings. And, yeah, like you said with Salem, they are the whole type of player. We know them for being that whole player. And they're going to be an absolute pain in the arse to play after travelling 4 hours up to Hull. Do you have anything to add on that?
Well, I'll say something. I'm expecting them to improve on their season last year. I actually think for their standards, I don't think they played that well for what they can do. Lee Bonner got a point a game. I know he had some injuries, and Bobby Chamberlain went down on points for the season before. So I think these boys have got to step up and get back into that top 20, top 15 sort of area, especially Bobby Chamberlain.
Yeah,
points in the league. He's got to really stand out in this league.
I think they're going to have a bigger role this season because you look at Milton Keynes, they had the likes of Wallace, Stewart, Norris, Talbot, that both of them are now in the elite league. And at Sheffield, you had that main line of Bissonnette, Hewitt and Alex Graham. So this is the time where they're going to be the top boys now. They're the main core, which Matty Davies has brought in and has put the responsibility on them. And I think they will take it this season because, well, they're in their hometown and, they've got a point to prove this season. Let's get on to the other new boys. The other new person, they've got Finley Ulrich on a full-time, which is quite big for them.
I think they needed him to fit into their top 6. You'll see with their lines when we do it later. I think it's really important to fill out that top 6 and give that depth to that top 9. So Finley Ulrich, really quick, really talented, and there's lots of these elite league players dropping down in their age 22, 23. Is he going to be one of them players who kicks off like Howlett did? You don't know. So he really could suddenly just hit 80 points in this league, or he could hit a point a game, which is still good. So there's a lot of excitement because you don't really know how many points he is going to score.
Yeah, I think he's going to do all right. He's had that experience up in the elite league as well. So, his first full season, and they've got him on a full time. No, none of this two-way stuff. He's full time Hull, which is good. And finally, we'll save the best till last. Bobby Young. Charlie, you've got a lot of not pressure, a lot of high standards for this player, haven't you?
In my opinion, he's the top 2 imports signed into this league. New imports. Obviously, you got Malazinski at the top. But you've got this new lad at Leeds who's obviously come from the NCAA and other things. But moving on to this player, he's come from the NCAA, straight from the NCAA. And if you remember last season, there was 2 players to come out of the NCAA. One of them went to the Elite League, Grant Cooper, and the other one finished second top goal scorer in our league, Brendan Welcome. So this guy's got big things ahead of him. He's got to perform really, and he's got to be Hull's top point scorer. I generally can't put it any other way. His standard is that high for him, I think.
The CV, as you always bang on about, sorry, I've got a bit of a cough. Let me just get rid of this.
Yeah, his CV.
His CV is
in the league. One of the best in the league. So
in terms of imports that have actually come down, so I expect him to play well, and I expect him to be one of the reasons why Hull are at the top and maybe battling for trophies. So let's get into the lines then. So the D-core, I think, is quite simple. What's your D-core lines?
Okay, top D pairing. Of Thomas Barry and Declan Barmer.
Wow. Okay. What's your reasoning behind that? Or are you going to go through them first and then give your reasoning?
I'll give my reasoning for that pair because I think it's important. Declan Barmer, really solid, good D-man who obviously sucks up minutes. And I think you have to put Declan Barmer on your first line D-court.
Yeah.
And Thomas Barry, I think he proved for Leeds last year. He's a great player to play alongside someone. He complements players. He does well. And I think he's definitely in their top 4. And then I'll say my next 2 D pairs. Brock Bathumalamu
Bartholomew, yeah.
Bartholomew, and Liam Danskin. I think you give that opportunity to him. It's a great opportunity for both of them new to our league, and I think that's a great thing. I don't know how Liam Danskin plays, but if he's slightly more defensive, Brock Bartholomew looks more attacking. And then obviously the third line pair of Stubley and Wilcox, a younger player with an older player. I think they're lines for me. What about you?
I'm going to switch two players around and keep in the third line, Stubley and Wilcox. You've got the younger player and you've got the older player, so that's fine. That's third line. I'm actually going to play Declan Balmer with Danskin.
Okay.
And then I'm going to put Bartholomew with Barry. I just think Barry's a bit smaller, and then you put the biggest D-man, which is Bartholomew. He's big, 6'3" D-man. So I put Bartholomew and Barry, and then I'll go Balmer and Danskin. A bit more experience with Danskin because you want him to be comfortable, and I think Declan Balmer's the perfect player with that. But either way, I think those are two really good top-line pairings. On to the forwards, and I think this is actually quite difficult because
I've got mine.
You have? Well, do you want to go with yours first, and then I'll give mine reasoning after?
My top pairing is, my top line is Bobby Young as the centre, Bobby Chamberlain as one of the wingers, and Finley Ulrich as the other winger. You give the opportunity to the young lad. My second line is Emo Svek, Lee Bonner, and Nathan Salem.
Wow.
And my third line is Sam Towner, Jordan Fisher, and that young player, Owen Brutton.
Wow. Okay, so very interesting first line. I'm actually going to go with Svek and Bobby Young together. I think you've got to play them together because I think Svek, this is not me digging at him, but his two-way game, he can be a bit off it sometimes with this two-way game. There's no problem with him whacking the puck in the goal and no problem in the offensive end because I think he's one of the most deadly players in front of goal. But I think Bobby Young's going to be that perfect centre to go alongside him and who's going to just pick out those passes to him. I think we could see Bobby getting a lot of assists to Svek if they play on the same line. So I'd go Bobby Young, Emil Svek, and I'd probably go Finley Ulrich next to him.
Bobby Chamberlain's not on your first line for Hull.
No, because I'd have an equally strong second line with Chamberlain, Bonner, and Salem, who have all played together before. So I've got a new line and an old one, and then I'd go the third line of Sam Towner, who I think's very, very valuable. And then, I'd go with Fisher and Brutton. But I just think I really want to see Svek and Bobby Young together. Maybe that's me being a bit biased because I want to see Svek smash it up. But I think we could see Young get a lot of assists to Svek.
Personally, for me, when I've seen the NCAA imports in the league, they seem to be good at shooting the puck. Both of them have scored the most amount of goals in this league in Grant Cooper and Welcome. So why would you put two good shooters on the same line? Doesn't make sense to me. You split them up. You have your goal-scoring guy on the second line where you've got Lee Bonner and Salem assisting him. And then you have your goal-scoring Bobby Young with Bonner and Ulrich next to him.
I don't know, because Bobby Young's a centre. He's a centreman. So I think he's going to be able to do that assisting more often.
So was Welcome.
We'll see. Let us know in the comments what's your top two lines for Hull, because I think you could go either or. I'd just love to see Svek with Bobby Young. So expectations before we get onto our ones to watch. What's your expectations for Hull next season? Because I've got quite high expectations. You'll see in my predictions when we do that a week before the season.
My expectation for Hull is to get top 4/5.
Okay.
If they break into the top 3, they've had an unbelievable season, and if they get to a cup final, I think they've had an unreal season.
Mm-hmm.
My expectations probably top 5, and I'll explain why after yours.
Okay, I'm going to go top 4. My expectations is top 4. I think they've got to be up there because they have got Bobby Young, who I think is going to be huge. They've got Svek, who's the goal scorer. Their D-core, I think, is very, very balanced. And I think McLaughlin's going to have a very good season. So I think top 4, they need to qualify for that cup, which is only the top 4. So I think they need to qualify for that. I've got high expectations for them. Maybe I'm being too high because they are a new team, but they've got a lot of players who've played together already back at that whole team. So, yeah, and Matty Davies seems like he knows what he's doing with this team. So I'm going to go top 4 and battle him for trophies. But I don't think they should be too disappointed if they don't win a trophy because it's going to be very competitive. Go on, give me a reason.
I've got 2 queries, 2 questions.
Okay.
Matty Davies as a coach.
Okay.
And this isn't me saying this in any diggy way at all.
Mm-hmm.
But when I watched Hull last year, I know their team wasn't quite as good, but I felt their team was too open. I didn't feel like they were compact enough in a lot of games. And I've seen this a lot with Hull. And even though they were one of the, obviously, they didn't quite have the squad at times and all of this, I do wonder, will Hull be one of them teams where it's like we're going to outscore the opposition? And I just don't think that's the style of hockey to play. And 2, there's a lot of question marks on players for me. Svek for Swindon, I think, can Svek stay consistent for a full season? I think that's a really good question. And is their D-core solid enough to protect McLaughlin? They're the questions I have. But if them questions get answered, this whole team it could generally challenge.
Yeah,
I think it's just there's some question marks right there with Hull because they've got so many new things, a new coach, 2 new imports, lots of new British players. So there's lots of questions.
So in a way, they could, the question marks on the likes of Liam Danskin, Brock Bartholomew, whether their top 2 lines can click and get all the goals, if they can outperform your expectations in terms of actually getting up really high. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, they could outperform mine, or it could mean that they finish 5th, like I said, which I don't think's a bad season. It just depends on a lot of things for me. I think they've got lots of question marks.
One other thing, the last thing I'll say before we get into our ones to watch, I think going to Hull is very intimidating as well. It is a very difficult rink to go at, especially when you travel all of that way. And then you've got to play the likes of Bobby Chamberlain, Bonner, who are going to be on you every time. You can't turn your back for 1 second because they will be on you. So, and the crowd can get very, very loud as well. So,
and I'll mention one word, and I think you'll go, oh, I agree. Discipline. How many PIMs are Hull going to get?
Wow, that's a good point. I'll mention that.
And that's that. I forgot about that one, I'll be honest. But discipline, I think, is probably the biggest factor for Hull this year.
Yeah, I think.
Are they going to lose their heads in games? Are they going to keep their mindset in? And if they do, I generally think they can challenge.
Yeah, I agree. I think you've got the likes of Chamberlain and Bonner who can pick up quite a few penalty minutes if they're not careful, and Barmer as well. Let's not forget about Barmer. Yeah. But no, it'll be interesting. And I think he's built a really nice squad just for the second season. And he's got the players back, which we all expected him to, and now they've got to prove it. So, ones to watch. Do you want me to go first with this one?
You go first, because I think people will be shocked with mine.
My ones to watch is Sam Towner. I love Sam Towner. I think he's so underrated. I've thought about it for years. I think he was a key part of that Sheffield Steel Dogs playoff win as well. He's that sentiment. He's that experience in a team. And I think, he doesn't get the most points in the season, but he's going to be so important in this team, whatever line he plays on. And if he plays on the third line, I think he's going to be a very big impact for those younger players as well. So mine's a bit different. Maybe I'm a bit biased because I do love Sam Towner. I love a player like him at Swindon. But yeah, Sam Towner's mine. Charlie, who are you going to go with?
Bobby Chamberlain.
Oh, no, that's not.
I just think he's back in Hull. He's back home. I know MK fans don't like me saying that, but he's back home. He's back where he wants to be. You can almost see that little smile already on his face. And I think it's going to be an absolute nightmare. I think there'll be some games where you're going, what is he doing? He's got penalty minutes there. But there's going to be other games where he scores a hat-trick and an overtime winner. And I think he's going to cause absolute mayhem this season.
Well, he was the one who scored the overtime winner at the playoff final for Hull to win them the playoffs. So he's going to be massive. And I think a lot of weight is going to go onto his shoulders. And the type of personality he is, he's going to be able to hold that weight. So That's a good pick. Very obvious pick. No, I don't think it's that obvious, but nah. So I've gone with Sam Toner. Charlie's gone with Bobby Chamberlain. Let us know in the comments, where do you think Hull are going to finish? Matty Davies didn't want to give his target for the season because he just wants the players to go out and perform. So let us know in the comments, where do you think Hull are going to finish this season? And let us know your ones to watch as well. Thank you very much for watching. Charlie, thank you for staying up and filming this one. And thank you again to Matty Davies for hopping on. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.
See you later.